Alright all, and welcome to episode 1 of the Turn 38 podcast, revamped and relaunched for the 2024 season. I'm Ewan Wayne, riding solo for this one as we get cracking with the first of our GTP team by team previews, looking ahead at the prospects of WTR Andretti and their 2-car Acura programme. We're going to get straight into it then, starting off with a look back at their 2023 season. And 2023 was the year of the runner-up for WTR Andretti, as they were second at the Rolex 24, second in the Michelin Endurance Cup, and second in the overall championship, going winless for the first time in their long prototype history. But that's not to say they were down a level whatsoever. Their performances, in my opinion, were just as strong as before. They were just never quite able to get everything all together. The stories for them last year started on the eve of the season as they became WTR Andretti, as Michael Andretti announced that he was buying in to Wayne Taylor Racing with his Andretti Autosport Andretti Global Empire to form WTR Andretti, and I think we're really going to start seeing the effects of that this year. In fact, it's very clear we have, as I think that's one of the key reasons they've been able to get up to 2 cars. On track last year, a 1-car effort with the number 10 machine, Felipe Albuquerque and Ricky Taylor the full season drivers, Louis Delatraz a new signing for the Michelin Endurance Cup, and Brendan Hartley joining them at the Rolex 24. Daytona, it was second place, as I've already mentioned. They fought back from mechanical woes overnight, which put them a couple of laps down, and it's fair to say that Wayne Taylor feels like they should have been given the win on that one after the whole tyre pressure scandal for the eventual winners, Meyer Shank Racing. Sebring round 2, technically a 4th place finish. They didn't actually get to the finish, but still 4th place points. That's one of the things about IMSA, and partly why they did so well last year. You don't have to finish to score any points whatsoever. So Sebring, still a very good points day, despite the fact that Albuquerque made contact with Matthew Yamane whilst fighting for the lead in the final hour, putting both those cars and the 3rd place Porsche as well out in that chaotic ending. So a win which went amiss, but solid points day there. Long Beach, a win that went amiss, but not a solid points day. Felipe Albuquerque put them on pole position, one of the qualifying laps of the year in my opinion. In the race itself, Porsche managed to outsmart them on strategy. Ricky Taylor just catching up, going for the lead at turn 1 at the very end, slightly misjudges it, puts the car in the wall. Officially a 7th place result in that one, and a 2nd DNF in a row whilst fighting for the win. One thing I think Long Beach really highlights is how mindsets change as the season go on. Round 3, Ricky Taylor goes for that move to try and win the race. If that was round 8 of the season, chances are he sits in and banks the points, but that's just the benefit of hindsight. Laguna Seca, probably their most average and dullest weekend of the year, a solid 4th place finish there. Watkins Glen ran into tyre issues, a wheel fell off, they called it a day, another retirement there. Technically though, 6th place finish of the 9 GTP cars. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, they were looking good for the win for most of the race, but yet again it was Meyer Shank Racing pipping them to the post. 2nd place finish there, and then Road America, back-to-back podiums, 3rd place. Indianapolis, they got caught up in turn 1 kerfuffles. Still solid recovery drive to put them up to 5th and leave them heading to Petit Le Mans 2nd in the championship, just 3 points off the championship lead. And I think that just shows how little consistency anyone had in GTP last year. You've got a car with 3 DNFs in 8 races and no race wins. That's still right up there in championship contention. At Petit Le Mans, Delatraz, given the role of qualifying, does the business. His first GTP qualifying session puts the car on pole position. The qualifying points, which is another place the 10 car was very strong in 2023, banking all of those qualifying points. Those points made them the championship leaders heading into the race, and they were fighting for that championship win right into the night when Albuquerque tried to go around the outside of Pipo Derani at turn 1. Contact was made, the 10 car ended up in the wall, out of the race, out of championship contention, and on that note, I think you have to say that the 2023 season, however competitive they were, was a failure, as yet again they left it disappointed. Yet again, championship runner-ups. That's the 4th year in a row that has happened to them. Off track, plenty of developments throughout the season. We've already touched on Andretti buying into the team. That we really saw the impact of that in May time, when it was confirmed that the team would expand to a 2-car effort for the 2024 season, doubling up. Their contract with Acura and Meyer Shank's contract were both up for renewal at the end of 2023, and for 2024 Acura decided to bless WTR Andretti with both entries. The new car, the number 40 car, is the 2023 Meyer Shank chassis, as Acura technically own all of their GTP cars and the DPI ones as well, although I believe they've started to be sold off now, as we've even seen one out in historic racing at Sebring recently. But that is me going off on a tangent. The reason they got the blessing for the second car over Meyer Shank, the whole tyre pressure situation, Acura understandably not very happy about that one at all. And then when you add in all of these extra Andretti resources joining as well, giving Wayne Taylor Racing the strength and ability to run 2 very competitive cars, something they have wanted to do for a long time, they have finally got the resources to realise. Let's take a look then at their 2024 driver lineup, with another car added. That is plenty of open seats they have had to fill. So in the 10 car for the full season, Philippe Albuquerque and Ricky Taylor are staying together for a 4th year in a row. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They've been in title contention for all 3 of their seasons so far, and at some point, just by laws of averages, they're going to have to win the thing sooner rather than later. For the Endurance Cup, for the full Endurance Cup, they'll be joined by Brendan Hartley, who is stepping up from a one-off. No complaints from me on this decision. Brendan, one of the best sports car drivers in the world. The more you have of him, the better. And then joining them for the Rolex 24, it's Marcus Ericsson with his second Daytona appearance. He drove for Ganassi back in 2022. He's an Andretti IndyCar driver. He's joined them on the IndyCar side for 2024, so he's also reinforcing their effort at Daytona. Wayne Taylor Racing traditionally running 4 drivers at Daytona, something which from next year will be mandatory in the top class, but that's not really something they're going to have to worry about adjusting to. And then the really exciting stuff is in the number 40 car, the brand new entry. We don't yet know the title sponsor for this one. It's believed Konica Minolta will be staying on the 10 car for next year, although based off the images released so far, we can expect the 40 car to be in red and white branding, or at least red, I would imagine. For the full season, Louis Delatraz has been given his big break, a well-deserved break. One of the best LMP2 drivers for the past few years is joining them for the full season, and sharing the car with him, returning home to the family team, it's Rodney Sandstorm, Jordan Taylor. He was last with Wayne Taylor Racing in 2019 before joining Corvette for the full season in the GT class. Now he's returning to Wayne Taylor Racing, which means he's also leaving the General Motors family after over a decade there. So a big season of change, returning somewhere familiar for him, but also leaving a place he has been for a long time, and returning to prototypes, which might take a little bit to get up to speed with, but a driver of his talent, you'd imagine it won't be long until he's right back on the pace. For the Michelin Endurance Cup, they are being joined by Colton Herta, another Andretti IndyCar driver, adding some IMSA races to his schedule. He does have one previous GTP start. He was with BMW in both cars at the Rolex 24 last year. He's left the BMW factory fold now to join in with this Acura effort as part of his Andretti duties. And he is also a two-time Rolex 24 class winner. He's won in GT Le Mans, he's won in LMP2. Can he add GTP to that list? And joining the 40 crew at Daytona as the 8th and final driver at WTR Andretti in 2024 is the 2009 Formula 1 World Champion Jenson Button for his second ever IMSA start, his Daytona debut. He did Petit Le Mans with JDC Miller Motorsports in October and clearly impressed enough there for WTR Andretti to give him the chance at driving in the 40 crew in the big one. Button, this is the start of his new era of his career. He's had a few years out from full-time racing since Super GT, and now he's coming right back in. He's doing Daytona with WTR Andretti before a full season World Endurance Championship program. For anyone coming back after a few years out and then going into something new, a big challenge. But he's only 43. He could easily spend a decade at the top of sports cars still, and there's plenty of talent in there. Might take him a little bit to get up to speed with the chaos and flow of Daytona, but once he's nailed that, I have no doubts that he'll be right on the pace of everyone else in the GTP class. So that is your two crews for WTR Andretti. We're focusing here exclusively on GTP. They do also have a GTD car, a Lamborghini for Danny Formal and Kyle Marcelli to worry about, but we might talk about that in a separate GTD episode. But just a note that they do have a third car to be keeping an eye on as well, although I doubt that will particularly affect what is happening with the Lead 2 GTP entries. For 2024, the big story to keep an eye on for WTR Andretti is getting that maiden GTP win under their belts. Certainly, you'd imagine it's going to be something they want to do sooner rather than later. So I spoke earlier about how Long Beach, Ricky Taylor probably wouldn't have made that move if it was round 8 of the season. I think in 2024, if it was round 3 of the season, he'd do it again, because for the morale for this team, you'd imagine breaking that losing duck would be such a big thing. They probably are going to take risks to try and be able to pull it off. And with two cars, you have double the opportunities to be able to take those risks with. Off the track, the big story isn't to do with their IMSA program, and it is to do whether their IMSA program could be joined by something on the world stage in the future. A lot of people, myself included, want to see the Acura ARX 06 racing in the hypercar class of the World Endurance Championship, and naturally, if it was to be given that permission by Honda, by Acura, the budget for that program, you'd imagine WTR Andretti would be the top choice to run that car in competition. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we will hear some news on that front. Obviously, a big challenge for them now. They're up to two cars. Two cars comes with lots of benefits, but there's also now the extra challenge of handling how they're going to be working together and just getting that balance right, making sure you don't have any intra-team dramas, because at the end of the day, only one of the two cars can win Daytona, only one of the two can win the championship. Although for Acura, it probably is a benefit having them all under the same roof, because there's going to be less animosity across the program. Because I don't know exactly how much data sharing there was between the 10 car and the Meyer Shank car last year, but I'd imagine they'll be more open to sharing everything now both cars are helping WTR Andretti. So to round this off then, it is a little on the short side, but there isn't too much to discuss about WTR Andretti other than saying how great everything is. There isn't a controversial driver move particularly or anything else I can really expand on and take into a proper in-depth separate section. So their goals for 2024, it's pretty obvious. They're a top world-class outfit. The goals have to be win Daytona, win Sebring, win Long Beach, win Laguna Seca. You get the idea, alright, they might not have to matter out every race, but I'd say Daytona and the championship, they are the two big things they should be looking at, with the third goal of proving to Honda, look how great we are, look how good we are, give us the money, let us go to Le Mans and try to win the biggest motor race in the world. Certainly, I have a feeling that 2024 will be a bit more successful for them than 2023 was. You'd imagine they do go in as the title favourites marginally, I imagine, and also the favourites for the Rolex 24. I did a poll on my Twitter recently. Over half of you said you thought that they would win the Rolex 24, and 46% said you thought one of the two cars would be champions. So on that note, thank you all very much for listening in. I'll be back with another preview very soon. Also, let me know any feedback. How have you found this? I'm all ears. And also let me know who you'd like to see join me for some future episodes. I don't want to sit here alone every time. It'd be nice to have some company. And on that note, cheers.